Hey y'all, today we're going to be talking about the phases of the moon. So I don't know if y'all have ever looked at the sky and noticed that the moon seems to look like it's changing shape at different times of the month, and that's because the amount of sunlight that is on the surface, that is reflected on the surface of the moon, makes the moon look different throughout the month. So the appearance of the moon seems to change. The phase we see from Earth changes as the moon orbits Earth. So as the moon is orbiting around Earth, the moon appears to look different. And these are the phases that we see. Following a new moon, light starts on the right as a waxing crescent. We gradually see more light until it becomes a full moon. After a full moon, we gradually see less light until we reach a new moon. During a new moon, we see no reflected light. So here we've got our phases over here at the on the right hand side. We have our new moon, which is completely dark. Then we have our waxing crescent, our first quarter, waxing gibbous, full moon, which is completely bright, waning gibbous, third quarter, and then waning crescent. And here we've got a video of our phases sped up. So we had a new moon, I'm sorry, not a moon, new moon, a full moon, and it gradually goes to the left until we have our new moon, which is entirely dark. So let's look at our phases of the moon. So we can label them. So the first one that we have is our new moon. That is where we don't even see the moon at all. That is where it is entirely dark. Then after the new moon, we would have a waxing crescent. You can remember crescent because it kind of is in the shape of like a crescent roll. Then we have first quarter. Then after our first quarter, we have waxing gibbous. So it's almost full, but not quite. Then we have our full moon. That is where the moon, you see the whole, one whole side of it. Then we would have our waning gibbous. Then comes our last quarter or our third quarter. And then waning gibbous is our last. And then they repeat. So we go new moon, waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous. Then we've got our full moon. Then we got our waning gibbous, third or last quarter waxing gibbous, and then after waxing gibbous, it would start back at new moon, and then just continue to repeat. So the reason why we have moon phases is because of the amount of sunlight that appears to reflect off of the moon. So if we watch the simulation, we can see how our moon appears during its orbit. So if I press the yellow button, we can play. And here we have a simulation. We have our Earth spinning, our Earth rotating on our axis, and the moon is orbiting. So as the moon is closer to the sun we don't see that side of the moon that would reflect any light. That's when we see our new moon. And as it goes more and more and more and more to the right, as it revolves more to the right, once it'll get over here, we will see the entire moon because there is no, there's the sun is able to entirely be shown on the moon, and so we will see the entire moon as it goes along. See, as it's getting more light is able to shine on the moon, we're starting to see more of it in the sky. And here we go. We're almost at our full moon. All right. So let's complete our moon phases diagram. So just like before, we had to imagine our sun is right here. Sunlight is reflecting right here. Well, if the sun, as the moon is closest to the sun, we are going to have a new moon because the side of the moon that we see, there is no sunlight hitting it, which is why we don't see it because the moon itself does not produce light. It's only the sunlight hitting the moon that makes it visible to us. So once we have new moon, we would go around and we would have our waxing crescent. Then we would have our first quarter because more and more sunlight is starting to hit the moon. Then we would go waxing gibbous. And then once it gets to the other side of the earth, we see the entire moon because there is, undisrupted light being able to hit the moon, which is why we're able to see one full side of it. Then we'd see our waning gibbous. Then we would have our last quarter, then our waning crescent, and then we are back at new moon, and it would continue to repeat. And this happens about once a month. So about every 28 days, 29 days is our moon phases. So we circulate through these about every once a month.